Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to talk about the English and we're going to talk about a very fast feudal build order that is going to be amassing units up to 40 at minute 10. And so it's an incredible aggressive build order that you can use to win games really fast. We're also going to be talking about how to get to Castle Age. So let's dive right into it. The description of the build order will be down in the description below, so you can follow along and use the build order when you play yourself. Start off by queuing villagers and then send your scout forward. You want to be sending the first villager over to gold, and he's going to be building the house and the mining camp. And it's really important is that he builds that all alone, because that's going to be more effective than just going 7 and then 3, and then you have a villager that might idle for 1 second or 2 seconds from building together with some other villager. So we're going to be going 6 food, 1 to gold, 7, and then 2 more to gold, and then rest to food. So it's pretty simple. Just rethink the order and then and go with the standard build order opener here. We're going to be focusing on sheep, no farm opening here. We need the wood to play more aggressively and to get more units out. It's another longbow almost in terms of resources that we're going to be spending on farms. And we do have the sheep that we need because we do scout in such a fashion where we are always going to have enough sheep to do aggression. And if we then run out of sheep, we can go into deer and berries. So now we have 3 on gold. We're about minute 40 in. We have 8 on food now because we're rallying back to food. We can just switch this around real quick. So now you can see here we have 8, 3. We're going to continue to rally. It's a good idea to control group 4 units here like this, 4 villages into a control group because then you can quickly access them and then get an even faster age up. Next up, when you see this go down below 3,900 gold, take the 3 gold villagers, drop off the gold at the mining camp, send them to the lumber camp because you don't need gold. We need units, and so upgrades are not going to be necessary. Try to eliminate any overgather, and so immediately send these guys over to the lumber camp and start building that. When you are at about 2 minutes and 11 to 2 minutes and 13, you should be able to age up. And so you're going to be aging up with 4 villagers. Then you're going to be queuing. So you have 6 villagers on food during the age up. So now we have 6, as you can see here, at 240. And then we send new villagers over to wood until we have 11 villagers. If this is a bit hard to manage all these numbers, you can just refer to the build order. I have the timestamps and I have all the villager splits there, so you can get that macro. The macro is really important that you get it correctly because it allows you to pump even more units. Remember to scout your opponent. You want to try to find out where they are gonna be placing the villagers. Where's the wood line? Where's their gold? Are they gonna be gathering gold? You also want to scout for if they open with a stable on archer range or both, for example, because it's going to determine how many spears and longbows you're going to be making. And so that's really important because if they are making stable and archer range really quickly, you have to play a bit more grouped with your units, and so you can't just stream units across the battlefield because they might just go with Sipahi or Husman, for example, and then pick off your longbows. You don't want to lose any units that early because it really just takes the kick out of the push. During the age up, when it's possible, you should build a wrap barracks, and it's important that you build it with the age up villages. So take one of the age up villages and then build a barrack, and when you can build a house, so when you have 50 wood, take an age villager and do that as well. Try to place your buildings in the front, but not any further out, just right up against the TC. And so if you are pushed back, then your new units will have an easier time of grouping up, just rallying into the TC. Anyways, we're going to be aging up now. We are going to be aging up at 358. You can see the barracks is finished. All these villages go back onto food when they're done. And so you have 10 on food, 11 on wood. Immediately upon age up, queue a spearman and queue a longbow. It's really important that you queue these immediately, and you will be able to do so if you follow the villager distributions correctly. You just send your units forward. If you scout, there's no defensive units, because then you can attack earlier on and idle villagers even earlier. Most people are going to be aging up from minute 4 to minute 440, so this is going to be a lot faster than everyone else. And keep in mind, you have 2 archer ranges, so those 2 archer ranges in the form of a council hall is 300 wood you save, basically, which is also why English is so good for this very fast aggression. So now we're pumping units, and we are 10 on food. We're going to be going up to 11 on wood, then 1 more to food, and then back with a rally point on wood until you can start making farms and Maybe at some point you take some off and put them on gold for upgrades, for example. But mainly you're going to be one basing, and then you make farms slowly. You don't want to make 8 farms immediately. You make maybe 1 farm here and there, and you see if your sheep are running out. If you all of a sudden find yourself without food, immediately just go to the berries, I would actually say, and then you can also consider going to the deer earlier if you want to save on wood. Just remember to get survival techniques. So now you are at the enemy's base. I just dropped off some sheep here so that my push can be sustained food-wise, and then we take our scout. We run it to the front here. We want to go and check the wood line, and I'm going to show you exactly how you do that. So the longbows have such a good range that you can use the wood lines to your advantage. Your opponent won't be able to hit you unless they have units, but you can hit them very subtly. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your scout, and then you're going to go and see if you can't get vision of the wood line with the scout. So you have a couple of units here. Don't make too many spears if you don't see stables. Just make a longbow then. Circle around the wood line. It's really important for a defender to have wood early because they need the wood to upgrade. I scout that he has a tower here, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to go and attack here, but it's not upgraded yet, so that's good for me. You can hit from multiple angles here. Just try to idle the villages as much as you can. Do damage, and then be aware of enemy units. See, there's an archer range, this is stable. This is why we have the spearman. If you get a Sipahi kill like this, and you don't make any mistakes after this, you can't lose, because this is such a good pick-off. You take a Sipahi out like this, it's basically the same as, you know, around 2 longbows going down. It's really strong. It's really important that you take those good early fights. This also means that you don't run under the TC and you lose any of your units, because if you lose your units, well, then you are going to be behind. So, well, not in this case because he's not making enough units, but you get the point. So we're about 7 minutes in now. We have almost 20 units in our base. We're making houses with our wood villagers. We just keep rallying. You see we have 14, actually 15 on wood and 11 on food, and this is sustaining us very nicely. We don't have constant production on our barracks and our council hall, but it's almost constant. And most importantly, we do need to have the longbows coming always. If we see stable and we see lots of horsemen, maybe they're picking off on our units here, hold your units back in your base, the new ones, and then push forward again afterwards. You see archers like this, try to pick them off. The archers are actually your biggest problem, not the horsemen, because your spearmen will take care of any horsemen attacking you. But if you take out the archers that will counter both the longbows and the spearmen, then they can't build a mass, and then you have way more units at the end. You'll also start to reach a point now where you have critical mass, where you can start to one-shot villagers, one-shot archers as well. And that is really good for you. You see a wood line like this, just immediately go in, take out as many villagers as you can. And if you get 2, 3, 4 villagers this early, then it can only go your way, I would say. Snipe the archers with the longbows, and just use the spears defensively. Don't send the spears forward if he has archers. If he has archers, keep the spearmen back and only use them if the horsemen charge at you. So now we've killed 6 villagers and the game is over at this point. But for reference, let's say he had built up a lot of archers. We would use these archers. He would use these archers defensively, and we would just try to pick off at them. If he builds up too many units, he can chase us down because longbows are slow. Keep that in mind. Longbows are slow, and therefore they're countered by archers because of the movement speed. And so you want upgrades and you want mass, and then you always want to target villagers, of course, but sometimes it can be a good idea to also, when they're building up an early mass and they're in the base and maybe they left an archer a little bit too far out, take that archer out as well. It's really important because it's gonna make it so that you have an easier time when they try to push out. We have not gone for any upgrades yet. Just a little update on the base here. We have made a couple of farms. We have constant production here. We haven't added in more production because we don't really need it. We can't support it. Don't add in another barracks. Don't start going for men-at-arms here. Go for men-at-arms if they are making only archers, because they will soak up a lot of damage. If they're making only archers, also just focus on longbows primarily, and then get blacksmith. You keep updating your woodline with lumber camps, and then at some point you can pull villagers over to gold, get wheelbarrow, get double broadaxe, and then start ticketing some man-at-arms. This game is no more than 10.5 minutes long, and so I'm going to show you how it ends, and then we're going to talk about how the Castle Age is going to go if the game goes as long. We're trying to look for the villages. I see he doesn't have any villages in the wood here. There's no villages in the stone. I don't see anything around the TC up here. Probably down here there's villages. And so I know that he's going to go to the other wood line. Though this is an exposed wood line. It's not under the town center. I can basically just run in here. And I know my mass is greater than his. We have 40 units right now. We're 10 minutes in. 40 units. And then we push in. We snipe the Meta. We snipe the archers. Use the spearmen defensively if the Sipahi come in. Just like this. Snipe the Meta if you can. And then just take a fight as well as you can. Now I see there's no villagers here, so they either went this way and I can't kill them, or he went around here and I see the villagers come here. Sipahi are down, his archers are down, and the game is over. I'm going to talk about the Castle Age real quickly. I do mention it in the transcription what to do, but let's say this game kept going and you didn't lose units unnecessarily, you didn't take any bad fights. Instead, what you do is you tech up to Castle Age if you have a lot of units, and he has a lot of units, he's one basing and so on. You try to take good fights and so on. You're up against the Ottomans, so it's important you keep their, what will you say, their military numbers low. So always try to camp their production. But generally speaking, tech up, get the White Castle, not White Castle, King's Palace. So that would be the H3 landmark that acts as a town center, this one. And then slowly get a scaling going with the more villagers. Also get relics, get knights, and get +2 ranged attack and armor. If you are still in Castle Age and they're in Feudal Age, get men-at-arms instead. Upgrade them with ironclad and then get the +2 ranged armor. Those guys will not take a single damage from going under archer fire, especially if the enemy has Feudal Age archers. And so you can go under the town center easy with just a couple of men-at-arms, depending on their army size, of course. So those are things you can consider. Add in more farms. You want to age up when you have around 3 sets of farms. So that would be 8, 16, 24 farms. That's a good marker for aging up to H3. Just put a lot of villagers on gold from the wood line. Get the quick H3 when you have the farm set up. So that I think that covers it. If you have questions, ask them down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. And yeah, I hope this helps you if you want to improve your English gameplay and perhaps step away from the 2TC fast castle meta. It's time we change it up, I would say. So yeah, good luck on your ladder games, and I'll see you in the next one.